Healing from my trauma was a difficult journey. It was a lot of pain there, a lot of challenges that I had to face. And I think what made it more difficult was that I was searching externally for all my solutions. I was looking at it for whether I would go to the gym longer, increase my workouts, drink more alcohol, party more, read more books, do more self-help, go to more places, with more normal people, so to speak, and see if I could fit in. Looking at all of those is what drove me crazy now that I think about it, and left me in a pool of pain. And so what I talk about when I talk about life after trauma is here's that one thing that you have to know when it pertains to overcoming your trauma and reclaiming your life. I mean, one of the cool things about the journey is I was able to see that I didn't need more alcohol, more prescriptions, more controlling behaviors on myself of what I could and couldn't do. I really found what the real answer was to how we heal from trauma. All right, so think about this with me. There are four invisible principles that work in perfect harmony to create flight, the flight of an aircraft. Those four principles are lift, thrust, drag, and weight. And together, they allow us to experience airplanes and flying to and from destinations and to and from places with loved ones. So what's so interesting about that is that you can't see either one of those principles, but you know they're at play by what the plane is actually doing. In that same vein, there are three principles that explain what is the most significant thing you need to know when healing from trauma. What it explains is how our minds actually work. And those three principles are known as or articulated as mind, thought, and consciousness. Originally articulated from a Scottish mystic named Sid Banks, but the three principles in themselves has become a universal global message that just talks to how life works. Just like you could tell the principles at play when an aircraft takes off and lands, you can also understand the principles at play of mind, thought, consciousness with how a person lives and experiences their life. These fundamental principles have led to some profound transformations around the world of people who have experienced a healing and having a reclaiming of their life after trauma. And the reason I want to start this video out with that overview is because pretty much it's the fabric, it's the through line of all the videos that you will hear me post on this channel to help people overcome trauma. The first principle is universal mind. It is the source of all human experience, the creative intelligence behind life. It's the spark of your heartbeat. It's the breath that you take. It's everything. It's that which I call God. The second principle is consciousness. Consciousness is the awareness of my humanity. It highlights my state of mind at any given moment. Consciousness is the gift that allows me to see the difference between real danger and a fear or a perceived thought that I think is real. The third principle is thought, and thought is both for connection and creation, all right? So the power of thought, one, connects us to the universal intelligence of life that I talked about, the universal mind, that which I call God. Thought comes through my consciousness for me to experience life. I do want to stop and put in a quick disclaimer. I personally think there is a difference between the power of thought and the content of what someone thinks. I think those are two different things when talked about. The content of one's thinking is just filled with the memories and the things that I've experienced through my life. I'll think of a past event. I'll think of something I want to do in the future. The power of thought is that creative ability that brings it through and put it into form. So you can have a bad day full of content thinking and be able to create for yourself a totally new experience. Those three principles, invisible, work together in perfect harmony for us to experience life. Over My Shoulder is an album. One of my favorite artists is Nipsey Hussle. And I remember on an interview when he said that he realized that music was spiritual because it came from nowhere. Well, that nowhere that he was speaking of is the universal mind, the place in which all things exist. And he knew that. He saw that. So the question is, how do you get those three principles at play in your life that will allow you to safely take off and land at any destination you want? just like the principles of flight. On a plane, even though they have all of the gadgets and markers and indicators and meters and metrics and everything to suggest where we are in flight, what is it that we use in these principles that I'm talking about that kind of govern? How do I know when I'm okay? And that's by listening. That's by getting to that quiet, still voice that's deep inside and allowing it to guide you. What feels good and what feels bad is just indicating to you, again, the state of mind in which you're in. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to have what's good or necessarily have to have the bad feeling. Neither one is right or wrong to have. You're free to feel what you feel. It's understanding that when these three principles are at play, and in a few moments, you'll have another thought that will create another feeling. You don't have to continuously think depressive thoughts. It may not seem like you can control it, but there are moments, there are soft moments where you don't remember your problems. There are soft moments where you just do relaxing yourself. Trust those. Do more of those. There are things that make your heart feel good. Do more of those. That's the principles at play. They don't tell me if I'm going to safely take off and land. They just tell me how to take off and land. They don't say if I'm going to make $1 million in my business. They just say I am able and capable of having a business. They just allow me to understand how my mind works. And doing that allows me to process the information I need to have a wonderful life. That is the most important thing you need to know when healing from trauma, is that there is a life after trauma when you understand how the mind works. So thank you if you made it to this part of the video, for listening about those as I explain how the mind really works, which is the most significant thing you're going to need to know when healing from trauma. I hope this video was transformative for you, but at least helpful. Please hit that subscribe button for me so you can get the next video, in which I'll talk about how emotions can be used as the metrics to guide your plane. Thank you, and have the day you deserve.